That's right, ladies and gentlemen. Cue the music. Chicago Bulls 96 style. GPDL radio, episode 3. Let's fade that out. Look at that. Little technical advancements here in the studio. So as we go into episode 3 here, we have a very special guest. Someone that I feel is going to add a lot of value to the show. He's an original league member. It took him a year or two to really catch his stride, but the last 3 years he's been an absolute staple in terms of regular season dominance as well as the playoffs. Without further ado, I introduce actually a couple different names. We got USA, who I like to stick by, John the Young, the one and only Zach Zaglinski. How you doing, Zach?
I'm doing great, OTT. Thanks for having me on.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. So listen, as I introduced you, what name are we rolling with here? Are we going to have some consistency, or are we sticking with John the Young?
Yeah, well, first off, I just want to say congratulations on your title.
Oh, thank you. You're the first to do that. You're a class act, and I appreciate that.
Well deserved, and you're set up nice for this year. So we'll stick with John the Young from here forward.
Okay, John the Young.
The USA moniker is good. I like it. We can still go by that, but it will be John the Young from here on out.
I like it. I still probably will refer to you USA in quite a few power rankings and some different write-ups, but John the Young it is. All right, so let's get right into it. I want to ask, I mentioned it in your intro. You had a learning curve a little bit, and I don't know if it was a learning curve to the style of the league, getting back in the swing of fantasy football. But you took a first 2 years of struggling, and really have put together a nice little run here over the last 3 years. You want to speak to that?
Yeah. Well, what I'll say is, in year one, I had a pretty solid draft. I did draft AB and Big Ben as they were coming into their primes. I think it was 2015. The issue was they were both injured throughout the year.
Yep.
And the team didn't perform too well. I ended up selling those guys, and then when you sell a stud in this year, in this league, you better make sure you get something good back. I didn't get quite enough back, not to the point where it would keep me competitive. Started building again, and it took me 2 years to get to the point, and then I made the deal for Christian McCaffrey, which changed the fortune of the John the Young franchise.
It also was probably, if you really go back and look at it, really step one into the exit of BBW when he made that trade for Jordan Howard.
That it caused a lot of uproar in the league. I will say, a little behind the scenes, that trade was offered to me. And I think that ended up surfacing at some point, and I think that was just everyone started really paying a little bit more attention to the activity over at the BBW franchise after that trade. In his defense, McCaffrey didn't really blow up until the following year.
The writing was on the wall, though. The writing was on the wall.
On the wall for him to blow up. I had targeted him. He wanted Jordan Howard. Honestly, it's slipping my mind the other player that I did.
Josh Gordon, and who wasn't active. He wasn't even playing in the NFL yet.
Yeah.
Yep.
But yeah, that set us up for success, and then we're kind of in a little bit of a rebuild this year. We were in the finals. We were in the conference finals. Last year we lost the divisional round to Darius Slayton and the Road Warriors. So we're rebuilding a little bit this year, and need a good draft, and looking forward to be at the top of the AFC West again.
Absolutely. Listen, if you have Christian McCaffrey, and you do have some other pretty talented guys on the roster, I know that you probably weren't really set up for the addition of Melvin Gordon, kind of eliminating your potential RB2 in the likes of Phil Lindsay, or even Royce Freeman for that matter. That's got to sting a little bit, but I'm confident in your drafting abilities. And you're a guy that's always flown under the radar a little bit in terms of dominance. I mean, if you go back and look at your regular seasons, your records speak for themselves. I do have one thing to mention though. There's been a consistent rivalry with the commissioner, Sean Rust, and it's not a group me rivalry per se, but it seems like he's been getting the better of you. Anything to add on to that?
It's a good franchise over there at Out for Justice. I'll say that. The outlook for this year, I mean, if we look back at his team, you know, he's had 2 double-digit wins in a row, 2 double-digit seasons in a row. He's also had a couple clunkers in there, too, and he kind of went all in last year. Wouldn't be shocked to see him take a step back this year.
No, I mean, his team, at the end of the day, he made an interesting trade for Josh Jacobs early in this offseason that a lot of people forget about. I believe he sent James White, maybe, which was interesting because that's a lot of cap. You know, do you see Out for Justice being out of the playoffs this year?
I don't want to. I mean, it's tough to say. The thing is, with Out for Justice, he's going to have some cap, right? But
yep.
The team that owned the draft last year, the Road Warriors, are probably going to have the most cap. And it's a division rival of his, and they're going to be going for Michael Thomas and Zeke just like Out for Justice. So I'm interested to see how that plays out. I think the team that lands one of those guys or both of those guys will have the upper hand
Absolutely.
in that division. Walt, he always looks good preseason. For whatever reason, the team's fade.
Yeah, they fade quick, too. They fade quick.
I still think it's a 2-team race. And then we do have a couple strong teams over in the West who I think a couple guys that can really get it going this year. So the AFC picture this year is not quite as clear as it's been the last 3 years.
All right, I got to put you on the spot. You mentioned you brought up your own division, the AFC West. You've 2 consecutive years, 10 wins for you, 9 wins for you. The hype machine, Pat Rust, 7 wins his first year, and actually regressed to 6 wins. You've had 2 different people in that third spot. You had Moose during your 10-win year, and last year you had Ben, Petey Lakes. You now have Jutt. Do you think, based on what you've seen so far, Jutt is going to be a contender or a pretender?
Well, so let me first say this. Jutt, I think, has been an outstanding addition to the league.
I agree.
He brings a lot of fire to the group mate and a lot of activity. Really, when the league needed a lifeline, Jutt was the one that brought it. I will say that.
He really has. He's brought a lot of pizzazz.
Yeah, that being said, and I actually made a deal with Judd. He's a very good trade partner. Does sell his guys a bit, but all in all, seems like a good dude.
Yeah, no, I think. Yeah, go continue.
Looks like he's going to have some cap issues right now. Now, I just saw today. I think he traded OBJ for Preston Williams. Did that come through the wire?
That did. Last night, after midnight sometime, I think it was just a trade, but Moose sent Preston Williams for OBJ.
Yeah, so that'll help him out a little bit, but still, I mean, that doesn't even get him under the cap, and he's still got to do his cap increases.
Yep.
So he's got a lot of drops in that list, and I know Brian Hill is one of them. But
yeah, you know, he's got I had his roster up. He's got a lot of tweeners. He's got like a Todd Gurley. Is Todd Gurley worth 36? Is Darius Geis worth 40? Is Brandon Cooks worth 39? He's got a lot of tough decisions.
Is Edelman worth 32? Right? Yeah. Exactly. He's got some roster moves to make. So at this point, I'm going to say pretender.
Got it. I like it. So yeah, one of my questions for you was talk to me about your division. So we just got your kind of take on Jutt. Bringing some life, maybe a little bit of a learning curve. I don't think he's really mentally there with what the draft actually looks like. You can do a million mock auctions, but then when you're 3 feet away from Road Warrior screaming in your face to hit bid, it's a different element. Let's transition over to Patrick. I don't know what it is about Pat, but he's had a lot of hype in every offseason. He won Rookie of the Year over Nick, and then Nick took a step forward last year. Pat clearly took a step backwards. What are your thoughts on Pat as an owner in your division? Is he becoming a Walt where he just can't bring it all together?
Yeah, it's one of those things where, right, he has a good, solid team in place, and then he blows it up.
Yep.
He just trades everybody. He's got like the happy trade syndrome. So, right now it looks like he's stacking running backs. Don't know that he has that one superstar running back,
right.
Like a top 5 guy. I see he's got Kenyon Drake and Melvin Gordon. Denver's always been kind of a by committee running back.
Oh, for sure. Melvin Gordon's touches will be limited.
Melvin Gordon can kind of bring there. Damian Williams finished strong, but Andy will probably draft another running back the way he is.
I also heard they like that Thompson kid. Is it Darwin?
Darwin Thompson, his second year in now.
Yep.
The Watson-Hopkins combo isn't a combo anymore.
Nope.
So we'll see what he looks like with Kyler Murray as opposed to Deshaun Watson, how many catches he'll have. And then, so I like what he's doing over there. I think he's going to be challenging for a playoff spot for sure.
Yeah.
Now, if I had to rank him in terms of the conference right now, I'd probably put him behind Road Warriors and close with myself.
Yep.
But just ahead of his brother and Judd. So
where,
I would say he's,
where does Walt fall in there? Is Walt just in the last because of his history, or do you have Walt higher up right now?
I like Walt's wide receivers. Joe Mixon on the Bengals. That's kind of hit or miss there.
Yeah.
You don't know what you're really going to get from him every week because they get blown out and they end up having to throw. And the in-season management, which you've touched on, I think you have to put him at 6 in the conference right now.
Yeah.
Now,
listen.
Let me rephrase that. We'll put him at 5.
Okay.
Because we do have a new owner in the league, so
yeah.
The owner does have to prove himself a little bit, but not that Walt's really proven much anyway at this point.
No, absolutely. And I'll tell you one thing that's kind of going unnoticed because it's even. But if you look at, and I don't have a calculator in front of me, but if you look at Walt's roster, you look at Joe Mixon, Chris Carson, Zach Ertz, Tyreek Hill, Devontae Adams, Amari Cooper, Cohen. If you want to keep all those guys, which they're all reasonable salaries, they're all that 20-30 range, he's over his cap, or he's right there at it. So he's going to have some really hard decisions to make. I wouldn't be surprised if you see a premier name from Team Walt go into the draft.
Yeah, and that was another thing. Like, he's in a little bit of a cap hell situation.
Yep.
Especially at if he keeps all those receivers at those numbers, what's he doing at running back besides Mixon?
I agree.
He's got Carson. Is Carson going to be like a staple in Seattle? I don't know.
Yeah.
There's a few teams that are going to be sending guys to the draft. I look at Goat over in the NFC. He's negative cap right now. Is he going to be able to keep Montgomery and Saquon?
I don't think so. I would guess that Montgomery's got to be gone.
I would imagine Montgomery's going back to the draft.
I agree. I think Montgomery was kind of a fool's gold trade.
And then Moose Midway just made a trade for OBJ. That puts his cap way over the limit.
Absolutely.
So we'll see some guys go back to the draft there. Everyone says cap doesn't win championships, but you do need cap to draft.
You need and players. You draft players, and players win championships. So players score points. Listen, it all comes full circle. All right, let me keep us on task here. We got to get ready for our lightning round here. You've heard the questions on the previous shows. I'm sure you've thought about your answers, but we're just going to fire them off here. I'm gonna change it for you a little bit. Who is your biggest contender in the NFC right now?
Biggest contender in the NFC. That's a good one. So I really think if I have to say it's probably a 2-horse race at this point.
Okay.
Between OTT and GOAT.
OTT and GOAT.
And I'm going to give the slight edge to GOAT.
Okay.
For the simple fact that he has Saquon and Aaron Jones.
Absolutely. I think
that would be my ultimate contender in the NFC right now.
Love it. Same question to the AFC.
I think it's Road Warriors, no doubt, at this point.
Road Warriors.
Just because of the experience in drafting, they got 2 owners rather than one. I don't know if they do like a cap guy, personnel guy type situation.
I think Dan's a behind the scenes numbers guy. He was the only person present at draft last year.
Yep. So they got a couple pretty good running backs, but they're going to have a lot of money to spend to draft. And my money's on them getting Michael Thomas, and we've seen them. So they would probably be the number one team in the AFC at this point.
I like it. I don't disagree. I think Road Warriors is definitely setting themselves up for a bright 2020. Okay, same question. And we can go with the whole league on this one. Who's your biggest pretender? And let me clarify on pretender. Some people have answered this question a little different. Who's got a little bit of hype around them right now? Who's got a little bit of maybe a decent roster, but you just don't see them getting it done? They're essentially pretending to be a contender.
I've heard some other people. The only reason I say this is because I've heard some other, comments in chat about how they would love to have his team. It's got to be Walt, and I don't mean to keep ripping Walt on this at all.
Right.
But one, the cap situation. Two, the mediocre running back situation. I would say pretender at this point.
I don't disagree. Walt is the person who's always a move or two behind. There's people that should have been moved 2 weeks ago. All right, moving on. Who is in your experience, and again, you're a lifer, you're a founding father of this league, who has been the most overhyped owner in this league?
Yeah, so I have a couple that I would throw out there, but not going to put anyone out there that has a ring, right? I'm still chasing a ring. I can't come at anybody that has a ring at this point, so I'll leave them out.
Okay, that's
who I am going to say is the Sons of Washington are absolutely the most overhyped team. Now, the reason I say that is you have to win a playoff game, correct?
Correct. 0-1 in the playoffs.
2 years in the league.
Yep.
Made one call about Phil Lindsay, which he's gotten a lot of hype for.
You know the interesting thing about that call too, Zach? He never even tried to roster him.
Never. I've offered him trades too. Never tried to trade for him.
Nope.
And I just think he gets a lot of hype where it may not be so deserved.
You know what? And there's something that I know, and I don't disagree with that answer at all. He had an opportunity to get Alex Madison last year when he needed it. He needed his handcuff, but he was stubborn, and that's a big knock on Nick. He's stubborn until it's got to be rewarding for Nick. Jared said it best one time. He said, I make trades that mutually benefit. Make my roster better, make your roster better. Some people in this league will only make a trade if they feel they absolutely owned that trade, and that's just not how this league works.
The trade I saw today with Chuck, or last night, Chuck and OTT, I think both teams got better from that deal.
I agree.
Exactly.
And Chuck and I had really easy conversations around that. Very, easy to negotiate. Understood that both teams got better. All right. Worst trade partner in the league.
Worst trade partner in the league. See, I'm not one that makes a ton of deals. I usually can get along with the guys that I deal with. I'm going to go with GOAT on this one.
Okay.
Me and him have gotten a couple deals done, but he's a tough bargain.
Absolutely. Yeah,
Mike. And I think it's because we've been at his team's been very good, and he doesn't really want to lose much in his deals, and I understand that. But I'm going to go with GOAT. I
agree, hands down. If I were picking, my answer would also be GOAT. All right, best trade partner.
I think it's got to be Ginger Jesus.
Yeah.
He sends an offer through the app. I don't like it. I decline it. I like it. I accept it. We also have good talk, and are able to come to a compromise in most situations. So I've made a lot of deals with Chuck over the years. Yeah,
Chuck he's a reasonable owner. He definitely understands. He's not one to really go back and forth via banter about the trade. It's like, hey, does this work or does it not work? Let's keep it moving.
Uh-huh.
All right, so that wraps things up for the lightning round. Before I let you go, Zach, any predictions? Any kind of? We got to get your playoff teams for the AFC and the NFC, and then we can wrap this up.
Okay, yeah, playoff teams, NFC. In the East, I think GOAT takes the division.
Okay.
It's Moose could have a shot there, but I don't see him getting it done with his cap right now. think GOAT in the NFC East. I think OTT takes the NFC West. And I'm going to go Chuck
as the wild card.
As the wild card coming out of the NFC West. Over in the AFC, I'm going to say Road Warriors takes the East.
Wow.
I'm going to go. I think it'll be a tight race between myself and Pat for the West, but I think I'm going to take it.
Okay.
And I think Pat edges out his brother and gets into the playoffs for the first time.
Wow, Pat Ross makes his playoff debut, which and that would leave Sons of Washington out, and Jutt still seeking it. Jutt and Walt would still be the only teams without a playoff appearance. That is good stuff. I like it.
Yeah, that's the way I see it.
Well, I just thought of something. Walt has yet to make the playoffs, and this is going into year 6. Pretty amazing. We're going to have to get him on the show so he can defend himself a little bit.
In a league where we've had five champions in 5 years.
Yeah.
It speaks to the parity.
It does.
Knowledge in the league.
It does. I completely agree. All right, Zach, it's been a pleasure. Do you have any parting words before I let you run?
No, that'll do it. Thanks for having me on.
Absolutely, man. Enjoy and stay safe.
All right, take care.
Well, that's that. Zach Zaglinski, owner of officially John the Young. I like it. Great owner, great guy. Arguably the best athlete in the league, unless it's like cornhole or something that I'm really good at. But listen, guys, appreciate the time. Hope everyone's staying safe out there, not getting too wet out in this rain, and I will talk to everyone soon.